Howdy YouTube, and welcome to this episode of Gunman's World. So today is going to be something a little bit different, and I thought I'd give you guys a look at my gaming consoles and games. Now, I've been a bit of a games collector for quite some time now. Probably goes back to even maybe 2004, 5, something like that. Previous to that, I used to just have systems, sell them at the end of their life, and move on to the next one. Now, I do regret selling a few of those systems, which I did have. The main regret that I have was the Nintendo 64. What an amazing machine they were. Like, I was actually only just saying to one of my mates, Dispenza, who I actually did a shout out video for him recently. I was only just saying to him recently that, I really feel grateful that I was there. Like, I was there for this era. I was there for the NES era, and even the Super Nintendo, the Sega, well, Genesis, we call it a Mega Drive over here in Australia, and PlayStation 1. Those kind of consoles, they were just absolutely groundbreaking, and they were it was just, yeah, a pleasure and honor. I look back on it to have been right there in my peak of gaming when these systems were brand new. So we'll have a quick look through what I've got. So obviously the PlayStation 1, now that's really just on display now, because I do have the original PlayStation 3, which I can play all my PlayStation 1, 2 and 3 games on. Now originally they came out with the 60 gigabyte hard drive, and they had the extra couple of USB ports on them. So a good machine, and I actually only bought that one quite recently. Another one that I rebought, which was the Super Nintendo. Amazing system. That was one of my favorites back in the day. Donkey Kong Country 3. Super Metroid, absolute classic. Killer Instinct, those kind of titles. Super Mario All-Stars with Mario World. I've got 2 copies of that actually. Super Star Wars, Ren and Stimpy, Mario Paint, Earthworm Jim. Those are just amazing titles. They are starting to get a little bit more on the expensive side. Now you start looking at the Super Nintendo games. Next up would be, I guess, the 64. Another machine that I was lucky enough to buy, fairly new in the system's life. I think I managed to pick one up for $200, and at the age of 13 or 14, to save $200, that was a lot of money. So, you really had to save quite some time to get that kind of money. And Mario Kart 64, that was my game. That was my main game. Like, I absolutely loved it. But another one was, well, Diddy Kong Racing. That was pretty big too. But GoldenEye 007, that is a game that has absolutely stood the test of time. I really regret selling that cartridge, more so than the system itself, because with these games, you would save your games onto the cartridge. Unlike the PlayStation, they had the memory cards, and again, that would be something that you'd sort of have to protect with your life. But I finished that game on every single difficulty level. I got all the unlockables, all the cheats, and I still remember getting the facility. So the facility was the second level in that game, and you had to beat it on 00 Agent. And I think it was like 2 minutes and 6 seconds, or 2 minutes and 10 seconds, or something like that. That took me so long to get. But then, stupid me, when I think it might have even been PlayStation 2 came out, I just thought, you know what, I'm not using the 64 anymore. Sold all my consoles and all my games. So yeah, had to recollect. And I can tell you now, I will never get that again. Like, I'm not that good, and I don't have the time to reinvest in that game like I did when I was, in my mid-teens, like 13 to 15. Like, we used to just stay up all night drinking Dr. Pepper and just playing Nintendo 64, man, a couple of mates. Even Mario Kart, like, there was a stage on that called Wario Stadium, and you could actually jump across the start line, and I managed to do like 3-4 laps in like 21 seconds on that. Again, all that data is lost, and I don't think I'll be able to do that again. That was another sort of groundbreaking game. Banjo-Kazooie, what an absolute amazing game that was. That was absolutely awesome. Conker's Bad Fur Day, another big one. Pokemon Snap, I think I must have just got that. I never actually played that game, and still to this day don't think I have. A few of these titles I just bought for the sake of collecting. Mario Party, never played it. Yoshi's Story, never really got into that one. 1080 Snowboarding, that was a big game. We loved that back in the day. That was a good title. Command and Conquer, never really played that on the 64. Although I was right into Command and Conquer on the PC back in the day. So what I'll do, I'm literally just doing this video off the cuff and just sort of whatever comes to mind. But I was thinking in future I could do like a video where it's sort of like my video game and my technology history, and I was thinking I could go in a little bit more into detail as far as PC gaming versus console gaming and all the different consoles. But yeah, I just thought I'd give you a quick look through some of these titles here. Donkey Kong 64, that was one that required, now as you might have noticed there, I've actually got 2 copies of GoldenEye. There you go. Donkey Kong 64, that one you needed this memory expansion for, so that's not in this one actually. I do have 2 64s, one is non-functioning, it used to work, but I have the memory expansion in there, and yeah, it's starting to get a little bit dodgy, even this one, like it'll work and then it won't work. But yeah, like you get sort of halfway through a game and it'll sort of start stuffing up on you, so could be worth me getting another one down the track. But the consoles themselves, they're not stupidly expensive yet. You can still pick them up for like $80 to $100. But yeah, boxed, obviously that's going to be a little bit more. But this box, yeah, you can see it's not in the best condition. It was in good condition, like all my boxes were. But in 2012, I moved over here to Perth, and I was forced to put all my stuff in storage, and I actually made my own sort of a storage place up at my dad's country home, and it was sort of semi-outdoors, and it obviously got affected by the weather, but I decided it's still good enough to keep, you know. But yeah, the Xbox, the original Xbox, look, massive unit. They were graphically a big improvement over the PlayStation 2, which was the rival of its era. And what else we got? So I got quite a few. I was really quite big into the PlayStation 2. And this is one system which I actually kept my original PlayStation 2 and all the games. So these are original collections. So I didn't actually get to the end of its life, sell it up for stuff all, and then move on. And it was probably around the time where I did actually decide to start collecting. You can see I've got a few box games here. So Diddy Kong Racing in the box. I've got Mario Brothers in the box. We've got Excite Bike. That was another classic for right back in the day. Used to love that game. And we've got, yeah, Star Wars in the box on the NES. So I can imagine some of these would be starting to climb up in price, especially in reasonable nick and in the box. And also, this was around the sort of collecting time. I was more a PS2 man, so wasn't really massively into the Xbox when that was new. I wasn't really massively into the GameCube when that was new. But yeah, towards the end of its life, I did actually get one and got some games at some reasonable price. Around the time I was getting these, I was getting them for around sort of $20 each, which is pretty reasonable. So Super Mario Sunshine, I got right into that game. I've actually heard a few people saying that they didn't like it, but I loved it. We've also got probably my favorite game on the GameCube would have to be the Metroid game, and I do have it, Metroid Prime, here it is. So it's one of those platinum editions by the looks of it. Yeah, player's choice, they call it. But that was an absolutely amazing game. Like, yeah, real sort of puzzle style game to it. And yeah, they definitely did the Metroid name justice on the Nintendo GameCube. And then going back a little bit further, we've got the Mega Drive. So that was a console that I actually never owned, but I've got 2 younger stepbrothers, and they had one while we had the Nintendos, the Super Nintendos and the original Nintendos. They had the Sega Master System and then the Sega Mega Drive. Golden Axe was definitely a bit of a standout title for that. And supposedly the graphics on these are actually better than the Super Nintendo. Even the audio, I think they said, some people were saying, is better on the Genesis compared to the Super NES. So I haven't got a great deal of games for that. I've got the Sonic 1 and 2, some dodgy looking cover there. Got Aladdin, Shinobi, Revenge of Shinobi, Toe Jam and Earl. That was a classic. We used to love playing that. That was just a bit of a really funny game. And yeah, there was a lot more good titles on that system that I just haven't recollected because, again, they are actually starting to go up in price. And here we go with some of my original PlayStation titles here. I got that sort of later in its life. After I was on the Nintendo 64, I decided to get an original PlayStation. And again, actually, this is another system that I have my original PlayStation. This has actually got a mod chip in it. So back in these days, I don't know if I've ever heard of anyone doing it for the PlayStation 2. I'm sure there was some sort of a mod that you could do to it, but back in these days, they used to put this mod chip in there. They could then burn games, and you could play burnt games on them. And in the original Xbox, people used to do that and play their games online. Microsoft got onto it. They would then basically what we used to call brick your console. They would figure it out, and then they would make it so your console is only able to be played offline. So that really sucked for quite a lot of those pirates. But these days, I think piracy, as far as console gaming, as far as I know anyway, it's pretty much been stamped out. There could be people out there doing it, but I'm just not aware of it. Probably more people do it on the PC games, but even then, as far as, like, everyone wants to play online, and you've got all your serial keys, and they can only be used sort of once, and they're sort of connected to an account, so they're sort of getting on top of that these days. Yeah, so GameCube, went through that. Wii U, so I never actually had a Wii. I saw them as a bit of a novelty console, more the kids and older people, you know. They did appeal to quite a large variety of people, and I believe they actually sold more than, I think they sold like 100 million consoles, and the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 only sold about 80 or so million. So the original Wii was a big console, just one that I never really got into. I decided to get a Wii U, and there was literally only one reason for it, and that is Mario Kart 8. And I absolutely loved it. I bought this Wii U for $300. It came with all these games except for these two. So these two are recent pickups. I got them for, well, just thrown into an extra bundle of games which I bought for the PS3, and I'll take you into my recent pickups soon. So yeah, we've got the Wii U games. So I never played any Super Mario Brothers, Zombie, NBA 2K13, or the whatever Disney Infinity game. This console came with these amiibos. I don't really even know what they are or what they do, but you know, they're just little figurines, I guess. A little bit probably childish for me. And obviously the PS4, that's my, well, not my latest buy, but it's the latest technology that I've got, and these are the games I got for the PS4. The system came with Watch Dogs 1 and 2, as you can see up there. So I got Watch Dogs 1 and 2. I bought that system solely for Final Fantasy 15, and boy did it impress. Absolutely blew me away, that game. As you can see here, that's my certificate of completion. I poured about 75 hours into that, and I did finish the game, but I haven't 100% finished it. Like, there's more dungeons and stuff that you can go into after you do finish the game. And yeah, so I've got Thief, Evolve, haven't played them, Need for Speed Rivals. So these are literally recent pickups that I got thrown in with some PS3 games that I purchased. And then I bought Rise of the Tomb Raider, which I really enjoyed. And I haven't finished it yet. I'm probably about maybe 10 or so hours into it, and really enjoying that game. It's got some amazing graphics in it and pretty good, decent gameplay. Okay, so I have, yeah, recently sort of been rekindled into collecting again. So most of these games here, all apart from the PS4 and the PS3, they're old, and I've had them for quite some time. I bought the Wii U maybe about 6 months ago. And being that it was in the box, in good condition, I thought, yep, that's going to be a bit of fun, and good to have. So the recent pickups I've got have been the PlayStation 3. Now I've got actually two PlayStation 3s. Originally what I bought, I'll take you into my bedroom here, and this is my gaming PC actually. So that's mainly used these days for rendering videos and just surfing the internet, answering comments on YouTube. But I've got this PlayStation 3. I picked that up for $150 with 11 games. I then picked up I had like 3 or 4 separate pickups of PlayStation 3 games. Now I've spent about $640 in the last week, and I've collected 75 or 6 games. and 2 consoles. So I think that's, yeah, a really good game, a really good score, definitely for what I paid for it. I've done very well. And these are all the games I've got. So there's all my PS3 games. I've easily got more PS3 games than I do for any other console. And some really good titles in there. There's obviously a few in there that I'm not really overly excited about, like things like those Band Hero. I will never play them. Guitar Hero, not interested at all. FIFA, I've heard that they can be some good games, but sports games I'm not really overly excited about. I've always been, well, ever since my brothers got me into Final Fantasy VII, I've been pretty interested in those sort of fantasy games. They have some really good storylines, and the battle systems on a lot of them are quite intriguing and interesting and a bit of fun. I tried Little Big Planet 2, got about 30 minutes into it and bored as shit. It's more of a kid's game, I think. But yeah, there's some great action. I've got some good racing games. I've got Final Fantasy 13-2, and I actually last night just chucked in Final Fantasy 13 just to see how it went again, and that's amazing. Like, the graphics on that are really good. Gameplay is really good. So I thought, before I get back into Final Fantasy, well, because I've never played Final Fantasy 13 number 2, I thought, well, I may as well go back through Final Fantasy 13, you know, sort of brush up on the storyline. And I actually never finished that one, so I want to finish it this time. And then I'll go on to Final Fantasy 13 too. So I've got the, and that's a bit of a screenshot of Final Fantasy 13. Really cool graphics on it, and I've got a pretty awesome setup in here, so I'm able to get my PlayStation running to my monitor in HDMI, and then I'm able to actually hook these computer speakers up, so I've got some good audio. So I've got a bit of a sub down there, just a standard Logitech speaker setup for a computer. And I've got the charging dock there, and yeah, I think that's just about it from what I wanted to cover in this video. Let us know if it did interest you. I could go a lot more into detail on specific consoles, specific games, and yeah, as I was saying before, my history in the gaming world and my history of gaming. I think that would be an interesting video to make, but we'll see how we go anyway. I would like to say a big thanks for watching this video. If you did like it, give it a thumbs up, share it around with your friends. Thanks for watching, and this has been another Gunman's World production. Gunman out.